everyone, Novels Wonderland here. Thank you all for the love and support you've shown me and the channel.
HOTD as a zombie I devour ghouls and parasites, Chapter 116 to 128, Chapter 115, Bonus Chapter. 1,361 words. Here's the bonus chapter 1 owed you for the 150 power stones. Times. 7th progenitor. I've known Kiriko for a while. I know she's a vampire, I know she's absurdly strong, I know she's lived for a long time, but I've never heard that title before. And that bothers me, because I thought I already knew quite a bit about vampires. In the Hellsing world, which is the universe where most of the vampire information I know comes from, that classification system doesn't exist. There are strong vampires, weak vampires, and then there's Alucard, who's basically a monster among monsters. There are no numbered progenitors from 1 to whatever. That means there's another mixed world I'm not aware of. It's not the first time this has happened to me. This world I live in is a mess of different universes that merged into one. Parasite, Tokyo Ghoul, Hellsing, High School of the Dead. All of that exists at the same time. And there's at least one more I don't know about. I glance at Kiriko sideways and laugh. How many things are you hiding from me, Kiriko? Though I want to talk to her to satisfy my curiosity, I know it's not the right time, because the Iscariot man is present with a distorted smile on his face while his gray eyes remain fixed on Kiriko. The 7th progenitor beneath Tokyo. Is the Lord's hand not great? Does his will not reach all corners of the earth? The guy extends his arms to both sides. When they sent me here, I thought, this is just a minor mission to clean up some ghoul group. But isn't this a blessing? He swings his odachi and scratches the ground with its blade. You who escaped from where you belong, and joined our enemy, Hellsing. Oohoo. Magnificent. It's an honor. A true honor. Purifying a progenitor. God has truly blessed me today. Are you done yet? Kiriko speaks in a completely flat tone. The man sighs while shaking his head. You're too cold, dear. That reminds me, vampires don't have emotions, do they? Only the desire to drink blood. Kiriko turns around and walks toward where Tuka and Rise are. The fanatic also seems confused for a second, because Kiriko turned her back on him and walked away. What are you doing? I ask her while she stops beside the girls. Kiriko looks at me with a serious expression. Arida. This is the first time you've encountered one of them, right? Yeah. Those from Iscariot are specialists in hunting and eliminating beings of darkness, whether vampires, ghouls, pagans, and everything that doesn't fit their beliefs. They're trained for that. To kill things like us. And that's why you're withdrawing. You're wrong. I'm leaving this to you. Fight him. I look at her expressionlessly. Eventually you're going to encounter more of them. It's better you learn now how they fight, and what kind of energy they use. If I fight in your place, you won't learn anything. Makes sense. Besides, a smile appears on her face. I want to see how you manage. Likewise, a smile appears on my face. Wait. Tuka interrupts. Why just Arida? I can fight too. I can perceive how she feels and notice she's overwhelmed by emotions like frustration, anger, and at the same time, fear. Knowing she's afraid because of me warms my heart. Beside her Rise is showing a smile that contains her irritation. She wants to fight, there's that kind of emotion in her. At the same time, she's jealous. Jealous that I can fight and she can't. Fufu, I want to participate too. Wouldn't it be faster if the three of us attacked him? I look at both of them before turning my head toward the Iscariot man, who watches us while waiting patiently. I look back at Rise's hand that's still red. In all this time, it still hasn't healed. If his weapon has the same energy as that barrier, then... No. Tuka and Rise stop and look at me, hearing my tone of voice. This isn't a game. Did you see your hand, Rise? Rise lowers her gaze to her burned palm, and that makes her smile slowly fade. His energy can neutralize regeneration. If an attack like that hits you in a vital spot, you won't be able to heal. You'd die. But same goes for you, Tuka. If that energy touches either of you, forget it. I don't want to find out using you too. I don't want them both to get hurt. In fact, I won't allow it. Tuka clenches her fists and teeth at the same time. Despite wanting to protest and say something like, "Don't underestimate me," or "I can take care of myself," she also seems to realize I won't step aside this time. Stay back, both of you. Idiot. Tuka murmurs that while looking away. Heh. Did you mean be careful? Rise stares at me while I see a dangerous gleam cross her pupils. It seems to say, if you die, I'll kill you. Which doesn't make sense, but coming from her, I get it. Finish him quick, okay. Aha. I turn toward the Iscariot man. And as I do, the Arata who makes jokes and laughs with his friends stays behind. What looks at the man with the Odachi is another Arata. I smile. It's a distorted smile, a smile full of teeth. Because I can sense danger coming from the energy surrounding that guy's Odachi. It's warm, or rather, there's a lot of heat, like when you're sitting too close to a bonfire. That's what I feel from afar, so what will happen if I get closer? And this kind of danger excites me. Are you done saying goodbye to your friends? Don't worry, because they'll follow you soon. The man tilts his head to one side. I ignore his provocation. What's your name? My name. The man seems surprised by the question. Then his smile widens and he strikes the ground with the tip of the Odachi, producing a metallic sound that echoes. Johannes. Remember it well because it's the name that will purify you, monster. Johannes. Got it. While I nod, Johannes moves. My eyes follow him. I see his body glide across the tunnel floor, and the Odachi draws an arc that cuts the air with a whistle. The blade leaves a brilliant trail that remains in the air for a second before fading. Pretty. I extend the fingers of my left hand, making elongated blades emerge from them. Raising my hand, I block the Odachi with my transformed fingers. The metal clashes against my claws and slash. The Odachi cuts through my claws. For the first time, my blade fingers have been cut, sending them flying through the air. Burns. The energy surrounding the blade enters through the cuts and spreads through my fingers at the same time. I can feel my flesh burning from the inside. I jump back while examining my hand. The skin on my fingers is red and inflamed. My regeneration activates, but very slow. Normally, cuts like these would close in less than a second. But 3 seconds have passed, and they're barely starting to close. Oh. So this is what it feels like. Sacred energy. It's the same energy surrounding us, blocking the area, and it's the same thing interfering with regeneration. This is what it feels like to fight a real monster hunter. Johannes recovers his position, and looks at me with a crazy smile. Do you feel it? That's the Lord's light penetrating your corrupt flesh. My blows are the prayer that brings you one step closer to your purification. The man doesn't have sacred energy in his body, rather, his Odachi does. As he said, the sacred energy seems to be made with the intention of eliminating us, because apart from physically damaging, it also directly damages the soul. That means if I receive a blow strong enough to a vital point, I won't be able to heal in time. It's dangerous. Nice. My smile widens. Chapter 117, Chapter 116. 1401 words. From where she's standing, Tuka observes the exchange with trembling and sweating hands. She saw the Odachi cut Arata's claws. He'd told her once in the past that if he ever met someone capable of cutting his claws, then that enemy is powerful. This time, however, apart from meeting that requirement of cutting his blade finger, there's another reason this enemy is dangerous. Because even Erida isn't immune to that energy. She sighs and narrows her gaze. He's holding back. Tuka has known him for a long time, and has seen him fight Kiriko, so she knows Erida isn't fighting seriously. In this first exchange, he's testing his enemy. Even so, that man is also holding back. On the other hand, Rise has dark eyes while looking at the man who hurt Erida. That bitch. I'll kill him. Her hands, hanging at her sides, are trembling while her face distorts. Tuka looks at her sideways and raises her eyebrows. Huh? Did she finally go completely crazy? Kiriko, standing a bit behind the two, observes the fight with crossed arms while her eyes are on Erida. She, who has trained many people throughout her life, but has never trained a monster like Erida, is interested in how far he can go. Let's see what you do now, brat. Times. The second exchange starts on my account because I'm not going to stand still letting him analyze me enough to know all my weaknesses. My Kagun materializes in the form of 6 black tentacles, whose length is covered with crackling lightning and sharp blades that emit the dangerous sensation of being lethal. I launch forward in a demonstration of speed far superior to what he showed. When I move, I can see his eyes open slightly as he tries to follow me, which he manages, of course, but barely. I attack with 2 tentacles from the left. Johannes puts the Odachi in a vertical line, managing to block me, but the impact pushes him back. His feet leave marks on the wet floor as he slides. Without wasting time, I send 2 more tentacles from above. Johannes spins the Odachi and cuts the tentacles coming from above. The blade passes through them easily, and where it cuts, I can feel that energy burning my Kagun's flesh. But unlike my claws, the tentacles regenerate faster, because the cut part rebuilds itself in less than a second. Oh. Johannes notices this and his smile becomes bigger. Fascinating. Your impure flesh resists the Lord's purification. No. That's not normal, you know. What are you? You're not a vampire since you have ghoul tentacles, also blades from the impure ones that come from space. You're an anomaly. I use Kiriko's words. A demon that must be purified. Johannes says that in a reverent tone. I take a step forward and the surroundings blur. In the next instant, I appear before him and attack with brutal force using my Kagun to pressure him from multiple angles. In counterpart, he defends and counterattacks with his Odachi that glows with sacred energy, cutting everything it touches. The pattern repeats several times. I push, he cuts, I regenerate and he cuts again. Annoying. I realize that each time the Odachi touches my Kagun, the regeneration is a bit slower than the previous time. That might mean the sacred energy accumulates each time he cuts me. If our fight drags on too long, I'm going to have a small problem. I change strategy. Instead of attacking with the Kagun, I use my 6 tentacles to strike the ground and propel myself to approach him directly. My right back opens and from there emerges the claymore-type sword. At the same time I grab it with my right hand, my left hand's claws elongate again. Johannes sees this and his eyes shine with madness. Yes. Show me more. Show me everything the darkness has given you, so I can cut it piece by piece. Ooh-hoo-hoo. Laughing, our swords clash. My claymore against his Odachi. The impact generates a shockwave that spreads and shakes the tunnel, making dust fall from the ceiling, and the stagnant water rise before splashing to the sides. The sacred energy from his Odachi tries to seep through my claymore, but since it's not part of my body, it can't affect me directly. Nice. I push harder, making my claymore press the Odachi downward. For a moment, Johannes loses ground as I force him to take several steps back. Heh. He laughs under his breath. Strong. Very strong. Excluding some monsters of darkness, you're the most unusual. Yes, without doubt. He licks his lips and says with amusement in his voice, "A monster has been born in Japan." From his tone, he admires me and wants to kill me at the same time. Hoo-hoo, it's quite an honor, Mr. Johannes. I prepare to attack again, but Johannes does something unexpected. He drives the odachi into the ground. The inscriptions on the blade glow, and sacred energy shoots from the sword, traveling through cracks in the floor. I jump to dodge it, but the cracks spread too fast. One of them passes right beneath me and a column of white light shoots upward. I dodge it by spinning in the air. Johannes yanked the odachi from the ground and launched himself at me while I was in the air. He read perfectly where I was going to dodge. This guy has a lot of experience killing monsters. His odachi traces a descending arc. I try to block with my claymore, but the angle is bad. I'm in the air with nowhere to brace myself, and he has all the momentum on his side. The odachi's blade passes over my claymore and cuts me from my left shoulder to the middle of my chest. Accompanied by the sound of wind being cut, then flesh being severed, I feel the blade piercing through my bone. Sacred energy enters. Gyu. I feel something hot burning my insides from the wound outward. My own blood boils inside the veins near the cut. My body falls to the ground, rolling several times before stopping. Blood splashes everywhere, and my left shoulder is open, with tendons and muscles exposed. While steam rises from my body, I notice my wound isn't regenerating. Arita. I hear Tuka and Rise's screams at the same time from behind. Through their emotional frequencies that explode toward me, I sense they're afraid for me, simultaneously, enraged toward the mun. Tuka tries to run toward where I am, but Kiriko grabs her arm. "Let me go. Stay there. You too." Kiriko tells her that with coldness in her voice while grabbing Rise. Johannes walks slowly toward where I'm lying. The odachi drips my blood, and the sacred energy on the blade makes my own blood evaporate. See? Even the most unusual monsters fall before the Lord's light. No matter how much darkness you accumulate, no matter how many powers you have, because in the end, purification comes for everyone. He stops 3 meters from me. "It's time for you to become dust, creature." I stay on the ground for a moment. It's the greatest pain I've received. The regeneration I trust so much is being blocked by the sacred energy that got inside my body. Even so. Hoo-hoo. Johannes frowns. Thahaha. I start laughing. Slowly, I get up from the ground, first supporting one knee, then the other. Then I stand up. Blood runs down my left arm and drips from my fingers to the floor. Drip. 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 I look at Johannes. My eyes change color, and crimson red is reflected in his pupils like 2 flames of blood. My cheeks distort and form a disturbing smile. "Hey, Johannes." Johannes takes a step back by instinct when he hears my voice that seems to come from everywhere. "Thanks for this." "What are you talking about?" The blood dripping from my arm stops. "For showing me something fun." My blood starts moving, crawling up my arm, and concentrating in the palm of my hand. Ooh-hoo-hoo. The laughter comes from everywhere. "Now it's my turn to show you something fun." Times. Sorry for the delay. I fainted 3 times yesterday because I was so weak. I think it has to do with the medicine they gave me, which really weakened me. Chapter 118, Chapter 117. 1587 words. A sword that mimics the man's odachi forms by hardening the blood. Johannes observes this with furrowed brows. "What do you intend to do with that, monster?" He asks me while keeping the odachi in a defensive position. He probably thinks I'm going to attack him with this blood odachi. At that, I smile. The smile I have on my face right now is probably pretty unpleasant. I can feel how my own facial muscles stretch. I'm testing something. Stay there for a second. Test. Slash. The blood Odachi flickers as it descends, cutting my own body. Right below my left shoulder, where Johannes cut me before, and I drag it diagonally down to the middle of my chest. The cut is deeper than Johannes's, to the point where I feel my ribs being severed. GHHK. I spit out mouthfuls of blood. It's true it hurts like hell, I won't deny it. But that doesn't remove the fact that a bloody smile shows on my face, while I don't take my eyes off Johannes. Just to clarify, I don't think I'm a masochist who enjoys cutting himself, or do I? Anyway, this has a purpose. The cut flesh separates from my body and falls to the ground. When the flesh and contaminated blood touch the ground, they start emitting white smoke before a few seconds later, the flesh decomposes and becomes a blackish mass that smells bad. The sacred energy that was inside it corrodes faster because that part detached from me and no longer has my active regeneration that can slow it down. Johannes looks at this with wide eyes. You cut yourself. I separate the blood Odachi from me. What just happened confirms what I've been thinking before. Your sacred energy entered my body through the cut you made. It mixed with my blood and my flesh, and from there it interfered with my regeneration. So the solution was pretty simple. I just had to remove the contaminated part. I point with my chin toward the smoking mass on the ground. There's your purification. Heh, doesn't look very divine lying on the floor. Johannes's expression darkens at the same time he murmurs words I don't hear, though it probably has to do with killing me. In front of him, the wound on my shoulder and chest starts closing as muscles rebuild, tendons reconnect, and new skin grows over all of it, closing the cut completely. 3 seconds for not even a scar to remain. Johannes stops murmuring and narrows his gaze while observing me with a serious expression. After a second or two, a smile returns to his fanatic face. Clever move. Cutting yourself to expel the Lord's energy from your body. He pauses and raises the Odachi, pointing it at me. Don't think you're completely free. Lord's energy also affects your soul. Tell me, what can you do about that? Hoo. Damage to the soul. Yes, I've already reached that conclusion before. That's exactly why I'm not so alarmed feeling my soul itching, as if thousands of ants were biting me at the same time. Either way, it doesn't change what I have to do now. I move my shoulders, rotate my neck side to side until they crack, and flex the fingers of both hands. I feel everything responding the way they should respond. And now. I bring out my two kaguns again. In my left hand, the blood blade is still there. Shriap. I cut my wrist and tons of blood in the form of threads start coming out, expanding through the air and forming several blades. Johannes looks at me and his eyes shine with excitement. Coming with everything. Good. That's how it should be. I launch myself at him. The first blood blade shoots toward his left side. Johannes cuts it with the Odachi, and the blood disperses upon being touched by the sacred energy. While his attention is on the blade, 2 of my tentacles attack from above and below at the same time. Johannes dodges the one below by jumping and blocks the one above with the Odachi's edge. The sacred energy partially cuts the tentacle. Before the energy can spread, I retract the tentacle and the cut part detaches on its own. I'm not going to let that shit accumulate inside my body again. Ha! While Johannes is in the air, the Odachi traces a horizontal arc, and a wave of sacred energy shoots from the blade. My body dissolves and becomes blood mist in an instant. The energy wave passes through where I was standing and hits the wall behind, leaving a deep crack. The blood mist moves to the right at a speed no human I could follow, and recomposes 5 meters away. Johannes lands and turns his head toward where I am. You can turn your entire body into mist. Surprised? Fascinated? This guy really enjoys this. Well, so do I. Changing his stance, Johannes drives a foot into the ground and the Odachi starts emitting more sacred energy, which expands making the tunnel air uncomfortable to breathe. I launch again. Instead of forming blades, I extend it over my arms and legs like armor made of a thin layer, but very dense that covers my skin. If the sacred energy comes in contact with the external blood layer, the blood absorbs the damage instead of my body. It would be a good disposable shield I can constantly replace. Of course, I must be careful with my energy reserve, since if it runs out, I won't be able to regenerate my blood and much less my body if I'm wounded. My tentacles attack from 3 different directions. Johannes cuts 2 of them and dodges the third, but while he does, I'm already at his side with the claymore raised. Our weapons clash. Clank. The impact is so strong that the ground beneath Johannes cracks deeply. Even the walls and ceiling start crumbling. I push harder, making Johannes retreat. NGH. Despite his skill and his sacred energy, in brute strength I'm superior. So he's going to try something, and indeed he does. Johannes releases one of his hands from the odachi and extends it toward me. From his palm, which bears the scar of a cross, comes a flash of sacred energy directly toward my face. I turn my head into mist just in time. The flash passes through the mist without doing damage and hits the tunnel ceiling. My head recomposes a second later. That trick of yours is annoying. Johannes says that with a tense smile. Even so, turning into mist requires a fraction of a second to work, because if I fail the timing, I'll receive damage. I return the smile while using 3 tentacles to push him back. At the same time, the blood blades I keep floating launch toward him from different angles. Johannes spins the odachi in a complete circle, creating a barrier of sacred energy around him that destroys all the blood blades on contact, evaporating them. But while he does that, he can't see what's coming from behind. A blood tentacle I sent along the ground while he was busy with the blades wraps around his right ankle. Pulling him down, Johannes loses his balance for a second. I take advantage of that second by making my claymore descend. Johannes, even falling, manages to position the odachi to block my cut. The clash produces another pressure wave that destroys the tunnel, but he deflects my attack enough so the claymore passes him by. He rolls on the ground and jumps to his feet, separating from me. We both look at each other. We're 10 meters apart. Johannes is breathing with some difficulty, and there's blood dripping from a cut on his cheek I made with one of the blood blades. I, who apart from my soul making me uncomfortable, am fine because the blood layer on my body absorbed the sacred energy residue from our clashes. Johannes wipes the blood from his cheek with the back of his hand and looks at it. Then he looks at me. Really? Really, you are magnificent. In all my years hunting monsters outside Europe, I never found anything like you. Your regeneration, your tentacles, your ability to turn into mist, your control over blood, and on top of all that, intelligence to adapt in the middle of combat. He pauses while his smile becomes disproportionate. In Japan, a true monster has truly been born. Then, I suppose I must use everything I have. Johannes drives the odachi into the ground in front of him. Then he brings both hands together in front of his chest, closes his eyes, and starts murmuring something in Latin. I don't understand the words, but I feel that despite the energy being the sacred energy from before, this time it seems multiplied by 10. Then the embedded odachi rises from the ground and positions itself vertically in front of Johannes, floating in the air with the tip upward. The sacred energy surrounding it expands and solidifies, forming a cross of golden light around the sword. An enormous cross that almost touches the ceiling and tunnel walls. Seeing this cross produces unease in me. In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Johannes's eyes open, revealing his gray eye transforming to gold as he extends his arms to the sides. Purification. The cross of light explodes and comes toward me. Chapter 119, Chapter 118. 1,576 words. A massive wave of sacred energy covering the entire width of the tunnel advances. The ground melts where the energy touches it, the walls crack and crumble, and debris rains from the ceiling. An attack designed to destroy everything non-human in a wide area, with no space to dodge because the entire tunnel is covered by that light. If this attack hits me directly, even I'll be in serious trouble. But I have no intention of dodging. Turning into mist might work, but I have the feeling an attack of this scale could also affect me even in that state. Maybe that would even be a foolish move that leads me to defeat. Blood mist isn't untouchable. Another reason is that behind me are Tuka and Rise. Though I know Kiriko will protect them if necessary, I don't care. I won't allow that men to make me retreat and make me look weak. Maybe it's foolish on my part, but for me, this kind of danger is exciting. Ooh hoo hoo. What beautiful light. My laughter echoes in the tunnel. The blood covering my body detaches and rises around me. At the same time, the 6 tentacles position themselves in front of me and intertwine, forming a shield. The blood I manipulate gathers and covers the Kagun barrier. Behind all that is me, with the claymore covered with a dense layer of blood, held with both hands. And then I launch directly toward the cross of light, which crashes against my barrier. My entire body trembles violently as the sacred energy collides against my Kagun and my blood. I can feel how the energy tries to penetrate, burning the blood layer and starting to corrode the tentacles forming the barrier. The pain reaches my back and from there melts into my soul. I feel like I'm thrown into a furnace that can melt steel. I just need 1 second. The claymore emerges from behind the Kagun barrier, piercing through my own defense, and clashes directly against the center of the energy cross. The claymore's blade cuts through the sacred energy. The 2 halves of energy pass on either side of me, crashing against the tunnel walls behind me. Walls explode, pieces of concrete and rocks pulverize, and the sound is so loud my ears ring. After cutting the energy cross, I keep advancing with the claymore leading. My body passes through the opening my barrier created. The blood surrounding me absorbs part of the sacred energy and evaporates instantly, but fulfills its purpose of protecting me during that second. I emerge from the other side of the cross of light and see Johannes in front of me, with wide eyes when he sees me emerge from his technique. The claymore in my right hand descends diagonally. Wait! The first cut separates his left arm below the elbow. Blood splashes and Johannes lets out a strangled scream, as his body shakes from the impact. The second cut, using a blood blade I formed with my left hand, cuts his right leg below his knee. Arg! Johannes falls to the ground at the same time the Odachi stops floating and bounces against the tunnel wall with a metallic sound before sliding across the floor away from him. The cross of light fades and with it, the energy that sustained it. I stand looking at Johannes, who's on the ground missing an arm and a leg. Blood gushes from the stumps, and his breathing is irregular and noisy. My tentacles are destroyed, only 2 of the 6 remaining, and they're regenerating slowly because they absorbed too much sacred energy during the charge. My blood layer disappeared completely, and I can feel a sharp pain throughout my body. And the damage to my soul increased exponentially, though not to the point where I start hallucinating again. I'm satisfied with the result. Because I'm still standing. Heh. He he he. Ha 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 ha. Johannes laughs. He's lying on the ground, missing an arm and a leg, and he's laughing. Marvelous, truly marvelous. God has shown me something incredible tonight. Johannes looks at me from the ground with bright eyes. We will meet again, monster. You can be sure of that. His free hand goes inside his torn overcoat, and when it comes out, it's holding a book. And until we meet again. The book opens and the pages glow. God will be watching you. As he says that, his body starts fragmenting and turning into white sheets of paper little by little. Through my vampire vision, I can see his body is being invaded by sacred energy thanks to the book in his hand. In that black and white world, I see his body dissolving into paper connects to a very distant place through golden light threads. It's a teleportation based on sacred energy. He's trying to escape. Probably from the moment he arrived, he already had planned how to leave if things didn't go as expected. I deactivate my vampire vision, and look at him while the sheets separate more and more from his body. Are you an idiot? Johannes blinks hearing me speak. What? I cut off your arm and leg. Do you know what comes now? His eyes move toward where his severed arm is, then to his severed leg. There's a lot of his blood spilled. He seems to realize my intention, and I can sense his emotional frequency changing for the first time, showing an emotion different from madness and ecstasy. Sensing his fear, my lips lift upward, revealing rows of sharp teeth. While it's true his body may be enhanced through experiments at the Vatican, and through years of training, his base is still a human body with human blood. And human blood is much easier to manipulate than mine. Blood from his severed arm and severed leg explodes outward. The fragmentation of his body stops abruptly. What? What are you? Johannes tries to fragment again but can't. The blood inside his body is being held by my will, and acts as an anchor keeping him in this place, so he can't turn into sheets if his own blood refuses to cooperate. His body materializes completely again. Aargh! A scream of agony comes from his mouth, echoing in the tunnel as the blood inside his veins twists, in a way that's impossible for the human body to endure. Let me go. My legs move and I appear next to him, crouched at his side, with my face inches from his. I can see my own reflection in his dilated pupils, and I understand why his expression changes to deep and bottomless terror. Because my mouth opens disproportionately. Thanks for the meal. My fangs sink into his neck. Johannes's blood enters my mouth, and I swallow in gulps. Once again, I'm transported to what seems to be a memory of when Johannes was talking to someone in a church. I keep drinking while his body dries out. The spasms shaking his body become weaker, his remaining arm tries to push me, but strength abandons him quickly, and his hand falls to the ground powerless. When I finally release him, what falls to the ground is an empty, dry body. Slowly I wipe my mouth with the back of my hand. There's a lot of information. Johannes was sent to Japan as the Pope gave him a mission. The CCG contacted the Vatican asking for assistance to deal with a growing threat in Tokyo. Aogiri tree. The CCG wanted Iscariot to help them eliminate Aogiri tree, since the organization had become too large and dangerous for the CCG to handle alone. But besides that, through his memory I learned something else. Johannes didn't come just as help. Iscariot also sent him as a spy. They wanted information about the supernatural situation in Japan, which for them was not so well-known territory. The vampires and ghouls in Europe are different from those here, and the Vatican only has knowledge about Japan thanks to records. That's as far as the memories I absorbed from Johannes go. I purse my lips while thinking that behind it all there are probably political and religious interests that go far beyond eliminating ghouls. Then I notice something. In the corpse's right eye, which is opaque, I notice it glows softly. Why is it glowing? I crouch down and with 2 fingers pull it out of the eye socket. It's a device the size of a child's pinky finger, thin, and with a tiny lens in the center. A recording device. Everything Johannes saw, this device was transmitting, probably to the Vatican. Which means someone was watching the entire fight. They're already aware of my existence. I look directly at the device's lens. Is someone watching on the other side? A disproportionate smile full of sharp teeth forms on my face, while I hold the device in front of my face. The skin on my cheeks darkens and distorts, before turning into what seems to be a bloody aura. And from my face sprout mouths with sharp teeth that open and close in different directions. The mouths speak at the same time. From all of them comes the same distorted voice, superimposed on itself. I will devour you all. I close my fist and the device explodes into pieces. Times. If you liked this, throw me your power stones. At 150 power stones, I'll drop a bonus chapter. Chapter 120, Chapter 119. 1873 words. Vatican, west of Rome. Deep beneath the main building of the Catholic Church, there's a large room with old stone walls where antique chandeliers mix with modern lamps. On one of the walls is an enormous screen mounted on 16th-century stone, and just above it hangs a silver cross. The last thing that screen showed was a distorted face with mouth sprouting from the skin and crimson eyes glowing in the darkness, along with a voice that said, "I will devour you all," before the signal cut out. Now the screen is black and the room is silent. Enrico Maxwell, director of the Vatican's Section 13, also known as Iscariot, sits in a high-backed chair at the front of the room. His white suit is impeccable, and his glasses reflect the glow of the wall lights. At first glance he seems calm, but the vein on his left temple is slightly swollen, and his interlaced fingers are squeezing. "Fine." Maxwell breaks the silence with that word. "We lost Johannes." Johannes had been one of the best agents Iscariot had in the last 10 years. They trained him since he was 15, he specialized in vampire elimination, and had a record of over 40 successful purifications abroad. All that experience and all that training ended up being useless in a sewer tunnel in Tokyo, where a brat drained him until he was left like a dried grape. Maxwell adjusted his glasses with one finger, and looked toward the other side of the room. "Anderson." In the opposite corner of the room, half hidden by the shadows of the stone pillars, there's an enormous man. This man is Alexander Anderson, and he's leaning against the wall with his arms crossed over his chest. He wears a gray overcoat and round glasses. His ashen blonde hair is somewhat disheveled, apparently not caring much about his appearance at this moment. His eyes are closed. He seems to be dozing. "Anderson." Maxwell repeated the name more forcefully. "M.M." Anderson opens one eye. "I was listening." "Didn't look like it." "Listening and looking like I'm listening are different things, Maxwell. You should know that by now." Maxwell presses his lips but decides not to get into an argument, since he has more important things on his mind right now. He leans forward in his chair and rests his elbows on his knees, while his eyes go to the black screen for a moment before returning to Anderson. "Is what Johannes said before he was killed true? Has such a monster really been born in Japan?" Anderson opens his other eye hearing that. He stares at Maxwell for a few seconds with a bored expression. "Monster." Murmuring those words, he scratches his chin with little enthusiasm. "I only know one monster. And that being is in Helsing's basement, sleeping like an obedient dog while waiting for its master's orders." He doesn't need to say the name because they both know who he's talking about. Alucard. The most powerful vampire that exists. The monster that even the church prefers to avoid rather than face directly, despite all their arsenal of sacred weapons and centuries of training they have at their disposal. Compared to Alucard, what I saw on that screen is how to put it. Anderson uncrosses his arms and puts his hands in the overcoat's pockets while adopting a pretty relaxed attitude. A whelp. A pup that's barely learning to bite. Though a dangerous pup. What he did to Johannes at the end with that face full of mouths and teeth looks a lot like the style of a certain monster we all know. If I didn't know it was impossible, I'd say he has some connection to Alucard. Hearing that, Maxwell frowns. Someone transformed by Alucard. That bastard isn't interested in teaching anything to anyone. But the abilities I saw are similar. The blood mist, the transformation of his body that mutated acquiring characteristics from other monsters, and his absurd regeneration, are abilities not even very ancient blood vampires have. Then what is he? Anderson shrugs. Who knows? Could be an anomaly God made as a joke. What I do know is a whelp is still a whelp, no matter what tricks he has. If they'd sent me instead of Johannes, the result would have been quite different. Considering who Alexander Anderson is, he was probably right in saying that. Without responding immediately, Maxwell leans back in his chair and looks toward the ceiling while thinking. After a few seconds in which the silence becomes somewhat uncomfortable, he speaks again. What worries me most isn't the whelp. Oh? What Johannes said before. Do you remember? Anderson raises an eyebrow. He said many things. He was a man of too many words. I mean the title he mentioned when he saw the woman accompanying the group. Anderson's expression changes slightly hearing that. The seventh progenitor. Those words fell into the room's silence. The progenitors are the oldest vampires that exist. According to Vatican records, there are 7 in total, and each of them is a monster with centuries or even millennia of existence. If the 7th progenitor is in Japan, then has her sentence already been served? No. A death sentence can't simply disappear. So a visit in the shadows. Maybe to train that whelp. Maxwell murmurs those words while furrowing his brow. Anderson, however, snorts hearing that. The 7th progenitor. The one who uses Helsing as a shield, and Helsing uses her as a weapon. Kiriko Miyamoto. Apparently Anderson knew her by name. Which makes sense, since he's encountered Helsing a couple times. Heh. The 7th is strong, I won't deny that. But she's not the threat you think she is. Maxwell looks at him with narrowed eyes. Explain. Anderson separates from the wall and starts walking slowly through the room. The 7th progenitor has a pretty big problem, Maxwell. Do you know what it is? She doesn't feed properly. Maxwell blinks a couple times. What? She refuses to drink blood directly. When Yumiko Takagi was observing her last month, she saw her always feed only on blood bags from hospitals. She's been like that for a long time. Maybe for decades, since she fled her punishment. Blood bags. A progenitor feeding on hospital blood bags. Isn't it funny? But it also explains quite a few things. Anderson scratches his chin while continuing to speak. What she drinks is dead blood. It's already lost the vitality it has when it's inside a living human body. For a normal vampire it'd probably be enough not to starve, but for a progenitor it's not enough. Anderson pauses before continuing. A progenitor who doesn't feed, as they should, is like a sword that rusts. It's still a sword and can still cut, but each passing year without maintenance loses a bit more of its edge. And the 7th has been rusting for a long time. Are you saying the 7th progenitor is weak? Exactly. That's why. His eyes shine behind his glasses while a crazy smile appears on his face. We must take advantage of the moment when she returns from Japan. Hunt her and purify her. Maxwell taps the desk with his finger and says. A progenitor is still a progenitor. Even if she's in a weakened state. Anderson stops and turns around to look at Maxwell with a smile showing mockery. So what? For Anderson, who's dedicated his entire life to fighting monsters, a vampire pretending to be something she's not seemed pathetic. A vampire is a vampire. A monster is a monster. Denying your nature doesn't make you noble or admirable. It just makes you easier to kill. Even so, that progenitor has that whelp under her wing. You have a point. Anderson strokes the large cross hanging from his neck. That whelp has potential, and if the 7th is training him, he'll keep growing. Right now he's a pup, but if given a few years. On Anderson's thick face grows a terrifying smile as he pronounces those words. Maxwell stays quiet for a long moment after that. Finally, after what seems like a long time, Maxwell speaks. We'll increase surveillance on Japan. Ho! We can't ignore what's happening there. The situation in Tokyo is becoming more and more complicated. The CCG already asked us for help with Aogiri Tree, but that was just the excuse to get a foot in the door. What really interests me is what's in Kyoto. Or rather, what's beneath. Maxwell gets up from his chair and walks toward the black screen. He looks at it with a smile on his face, as if he were seeing the image of that face full of mouths and teeth. Japan has ghouls, vampires, and now a whelp that can grow to be a monster. He turns around and looks at Anderson. And according to the prophecies, the trumpet of the apocalypse is supposed to sound there. Anderson raises an eyebrow hearing that. Those prophecies aren't in the Holy Bible. It's what the Pope from the previous century said. Do you take it seriously? I'm just considering it. At Maxwell's response, Anderson lets out a short laugh. Maxwell sits back down and crosses his legs while his expression returns to calm. We're not going to act yet. It would be stupid to send more agents without knowing exactly what we're facing. Johannes was reckless attacking without enough information and paid for it. I'm not going to repeat the same mistake the CCG is making by desperately asking for help because they can't control their own monsters. We're not their cleanup service, those who have no faith in God. Maxwell adjusts his glasses once more before continuing. We'll send observers for now. I want to know everything about that whelp. Who he is, where he comes from, what he can do, and what his connections are. And, putting his elbow on the desk, he interlaces his fingers and rests his chin there while narrowing his eyes. I also want to know what V has been doing lately, using that disgusting blood they extracted from who knows where. What if the observers also end up drained? Then we'll send better observers. Anderson laughs under his breath. Or you could send me directly and save yourself the trouble. Maxwell looks at him for a second or two before responding. You stay here. If you leave, the Vatican's ultimate weapon, our enemy will pay us a not-so-friendly visit. The large man seems slightly disappointed. Shrugging, he leans against the wall and closes his eyes again. As you wish. I'll be here when you need me. Meanwhile, he opens one eye and looks toward the black screen. I hope that whelp keeps growing. It'd be boring if by the time I get to go, he's not worth the trip anymore. Maxwell stays seated in his chair looking at the TV expressionlessly. I will devour you all, huh? He murmurs those words, repeating what the whelp said before destroying the camera. A cold smile forms on his lips. We'll see who devours whom, monster. Times. If you liked this, throw me your power stones. At 150 power stones, I'll drop a bonus chapter. Chapter 121, Chapter 120. 1,598 words. Oni-chan. Wake up. I hear that voice as if it were coming from very far away. Huh? When did I get submerged in a sea of blood? Slurp. Doesn't matter. This blood is really good. Oni-chan. Though it's like someone's calling me from the surface, somehow the voice that repeats sounds closer. Saya, it's 6 in the morning. 9:20. Okasan already went down for breakfast. I cover my face with the pillow while continuing to enjoy my sea of blood where I swim and drink. Oni-chan, if you don't get up I'm going to jump on you. You're not going to do that. I am going to do it. You're not Goy. And then she jumps. Alf. My sea of blood. She lands on my stomach with all her weight, which isn't much, but since she lands knees first, it does hurt. I let out a grunt and the pillow falls to the floor. I open my eyes abruptly. The room's curtain is open, and the Sunday sun hits my face directly. The culprit is standing next to the bed with her arms under her chest and a frown. Her pajamas are pink, her pigtails are pink and her face is also pink, though I think that last part is because she's angry and not because it matches the rest. Your sea of blood? Wow, sometimes I forget you're a perverted vampire. I see a disgusted expression on her face. Saya, you're a violent brat. And you're a lazy Oni-chan. Get up already. Her hands grab my arm and start pulling. Of course, she doesn't move me even an inch, because she's a human girl, and I'm a vampire hybrid or whatever I am, but she pulls with all the strength she has, showing a small thong over her lips. I laugh a bit. What are you laughing at? Nothing. Get up. I wonder if I already have a vampire's disease. I want to sleep for a whole year without waking up. Fine. I sit on the bed at the same time Saya releases my arm and crosses her arms, looking at me with a satisfied expression. She's still sitting on the edge of the bed. Oka-san made breakfast today. Huh? Mom cooked. Saya nods. She said since it's Sunday and for once she's home, she wanted to have breakfast with us. So hurry up, Oni-chan. Mrs. Yuriko cooking is a rare event. Usually she has coffee for breakfast and runs off to some important meeting where she moves money and power from one side to another. That she's home on a Sunday and cook means she wants to talk about something, or simply wants to spend time with her children. That woman is very busy, and sometimes I feel sorry for her. Oni-chan, why are you making that face? What face? That I think you're cute. Bah. Disgusting. In the next instant her face turns so red that a tomato with pigtails appears in my mind. Heh. I ruffle her hair. She lets out a squeal and tries to push my hand away, but I keep it there a bit longer because it amuses me. Her cheeks turn even pinker. Stop treating me like a child. You are a child. Ugh. She pushes my hand away with a swat and gets off the bed. Before leaving the room, she turns her head toward me. Her orange eyes look at me with a smug expression. After breakfast you're taking me to buy books. I have things to do. Are those things more important than me? I wonder how many times I've heard those words from her. Her eyes lose a bit of their shine at the same time her lips press together. Well, after my stuff, okay. You better. And she leaves the room closing the door behind her. I keep looking at the door for a few seconds. This girl. Her obsession with me really comes to the surface more and more. Most of the time she maintains her tsundere mode, but lately, especially when Rei or Tuka comes to the mansion looking for me, she goes into yandere mode for the following days. I know exactly where that's going. Someone might be worried if one day they wake up in a basement with their hands tied. But I'm not worried. That's the part one should probably worry about more. Long live yanderas. I go down for breakfast. Mrs. Yuriko is sitting at the table in a white shirt and black pants. This woman probably doesn't know what it means to be relaxed. Saya's already sitting too, eating rice with a bit of fish. Good morning, Arita. Good morning, Mom. She smiles slightly hearing that word. I sit down. Mrs. Yuriko has made a breakfast containing rice, fish, miso soup and egg. How did you sleep? Fine. Until a certain someone came to jump on me. Oni-chan. I look at her and show her a dark smile full of teeth. Mom, she enters my room whenever she wants. Aren't you going to say anything to her? Mrs. Yuriko looks at both of us with a small smile. She takes her tea, takes a sip and then says, Saya, don't enter Arata's room without permission. But, especially since you'll soon be a young lady. Saya almost spits out her rice. What? Oka-san. It's not that. I only go in because Oni-chan is lazy and won't get up. Real or fake? Saya turns red from her neck to her forehead. I try not to laugh and put food in my mouth to distract myself. Though she doesn't look it with her serious face, this woman enjoys bothering her daughter and me too. Anyway, Arita. Mrs. Yuriko turns her head toward me. I heard from Kiriko. I heard you're doing well. Be careful, okay? Her eyes look at me intently. Omo. Don't worry. Saya looks at both of us without understanding, frowns a bit but doesn't ask anything. That girl is smart and knows when it's not a good time to butt in. Sometimes she feels inferior and asks me if I can turn her into a vampire. In that case, I can only apologize. Once I found a bandit and tried to turn him into a vampire as an experiment, but his body decomposed and transformed into a black mass that maintained its consciousness. It's because I can only transform the body, and can't transform the soul. I finish breakfast quickly. I thank Mrs. Yuriko, ignore Saya's look that says, "Don't forget about me," and go up to get dressed. 10 minutes later I'm on my room's balcony, and my body dissolves. Fume. Dark red blood mist. The mass of mist floats in the air for a second, and then shoots toward the sky. Flying as mist is one of the things I like most about being what I am. I can cover long distances in very little time. I don't need to worry about traffic, and no one can see me if I stay high enough. I'm just a red stain in the sky, and most people don't look up. Of course, sometimes I see videos on the internet talking about red mist flying, but most remain skeptical. Because for them, who know there are ghouls and parasites, they don't know about this type of power. I cross Tokyo in a few minutes. The rooftop where I agreed to meet Kiriko is on an office building in 21th Ward. I recompose in a corner, where no one sees me, and walk toward the center of the rooftop. I got here first, huh? I walk to the edge and look at the city. I widen my vision and my sight reaches across Tokyo, and I see the buildings, streets and people moving. It's Sunday so there are fewer people than usual, but there are still many. I lean on the railing and put my hands in my pockets. I think about what happened yesterday with Johannes. That camera surely already revealed me to the Vatican. I wonder what they'll decide. This morning I sent an all-seeing eye toward Rome. I hope when it arrives, they don't discover it. I want to know what they're planning to be prepared for their moves and not be caught off guard, also affecting the girls around me. Thinking too much, huh? A voice behind me. I turn my head. Kiriko is standing a few meters away. I didn't sense her arrive, which is normal because she can slip into shadows and move as she wants without being detected. Unless I use my vampire vision, it's impossible to see her. She's wearing a black jacket over a gray blouse and dark jeans. She looks very beautiful today too. You're late. 5 minutes. Late is late. She walks toward where I am, and upon arriving, raises her fist and hits me on the head. Did you forget I'm your master, brat? While I rub my head, she leans on the railing next to me, looking at the city. How's your Sunday? A brat with pigtails woke me up by jumping on my stomach. Sounds fun. Indeed. Kiriko knows why I called her. I know she knows. And she knows I know she knows. We're in that kind of silence where both are waiting to see who speaks first. End up being me. Kiriko. Yes. What's a progenitor? Times. If you liked this, throw me your power stones. At 150 power stones, I'll drop a bonus chapter. Chapter 122, Chapter 121, Bonus Chapter. 1991 words. Thanks a lot for the 150 power stones. Here's the bonus chapter. Times. She doesn't respond immediately. She just keeps looking at the city a bit longer, and then lets air out through her nose. Straight to the point, huh? I don't have patience for beating around the bush today. It'd be a problem if you did. She separates from the railing and turns to lean her back against it, facing the building. At the same time, she crosses her arms. What else do you want to know? What you're hiding? Besides that. Heh. That's a bigger question. I want to know. She looks at me and I see her eyes are serious. I'm going to tell you what you need to know for now. Not everything. Some things still aren't yours to know. Why? Because they're not. Got a problem with that? I don't like that answer, but I understand it. If Kiriko tells me I'm not ready for something, she's probably right. This woman has lived for many centuries. I also want to ask her how she met Mom considering her age, since they supposedly met when they were young. Mrs. Yuriko is human, So the only answer is that Kiriko disguised herself as a child and entered school. What I'm curious about is her reason behind that. Does this have anything to do with Rei? Speaking of Rei, is she Kiriko's daughter? According to some fantasy novels I've read, vampires can't have children. Fine. Start with the progenitor. She nods. A progenitor is, in simple terms, a vampire of origin. The most ancient, and the first of a certain lineage. Not the first vampire of all existence, that's something else, but the first of their kind. There are kinds. Of course. I'm the seventh. There are 6 above me, and all those 6 were transformed by the first progenitor, except for me. 6. Ha. They're stronger than me. Stronger is relative. I haven't fed properly for a long time, so I'm not in my best state. If I fed as I should, I'd probably be on par with some of them. And why don't you feed properly? She doesn't respond to that. Instead, I see her eyes become distant for a second. I see. That's one of the things she's not going to tell me today. That's fine. I'm not going to press her. You said 6 above. Where are they? I changed the subject with those words. Scattered. Most don't leave their territories because there's a kind of non-interference law. I see. She looks at me. A question for you. Why do you think most ghouls are concentrated in Tokyo? Ha. That's a strange question, but I think about it. It's true that in Tokyo there's an unusual concentration of ghouls. The CCG has most of its resources here because this is where the problems are. In other parts of Japan there are some too, but not in the quantity there are here. And in other parts of the world, ghoul populations are much lower. I always knew that but never stopped to think why. Because there are stronger predators than them in other places. Kiriko smiles a bit. Kind of. Ghouls are predators in the food chain, but they can also be prey. And there are zones in this world where, if a ghoul sticks its nose in, it doesn't pull it out again. Like where? Kyoto. Or rather, beneath Kyoto. I frown a bit. Down there are vampires. An entire city of them. That's new information for me. An entire city of vampires beneath Kyoto. How is it that nobody knows that? Well, I guess that's the point. Nobody knows because they make sure nobody knows. Non-interference law, huh? Are those vampires the same as the ones in Europe? Kiriko raises an eyebrow. From Europe. Well, I understand your point, so I'd say they're different. I urge her to continue, but she stays quiet for a moment. Then she asks me a question I didn't expect. Do you know the creation myth? The creation myth? Which one? The Christian one? The Shinto one? Neither of those. Then no. I figured. It's information only certain factions handle. You don't find it in history books, and much less on the internet. Is that so? Seems problematic. Want to hear it? Yes. Kiriko turns toward the railing again, and looks at the city. After a few seconds, she starts speaking. Her voice is calmer now. It's said that before anything that could be called a world existed, there was a being. It has no name because no name could hold it. Some call it the first one, others the origin, the Vatican calls it God, others simply him. That being awoke and realized it was alone. And since it was alone, it broke itself into pieces to fill the void. She pauses, takes a cigarette from her jacket pocket, lights it, and continues. A vampire can smoke. Its body became many things. Each part took a different form, and from each one arose a type of existence. From its brain, humans were born. Ugh. That's disgusting. The reason humans can think, doubt, lie, create art and build civilizations, all of that comes from there. but also the reason they go mad, become obsessed and destroy each other. The brain has everything. She takes a drag from the cigarette. From its blood, 2 branches of vampires were born. One branch is what we call Midians today. I think you referred to them as the ones from Europe. So the vampires from Helsing. And the other branch? The other branch gave origin to another type of vampire. Those are the ones who live beneath Kyoto, or other vampire places in other countries. They're called sanguinum to differentiate them from the Midians. Sanguinum. I murmur the word. That word. I know it. It sounds like. Ah. Sanguinum, bracelets that protect vampires from sunlight, a vampire city beneath Kyoto. Ah shit. I keep my face neutral while paying attention to Kiriko, who keeps talking. From its cells, RC cells were born. That is, what makes ghouls function. They're not a complete race by themselves, but the cells found in ghouls and humans. So that's the kind of background RC cells have. Though it's just a myth, it's pretty structured. It's spirit fragmented, and from them angels were born. I open my eyes wide. They exist. I haven't seen one, but yes, they exist. Having said that, Kiriko continues filling my mind with the creation myth. From its stomach and intestines, ghouls were born as creatures. That's the part where digestion happens, and that's why ghouls can only eat meat, and only human meat or from other ghouls. It's no coincidence that it seems their stomachs have no bottom, they always seem hungry, and never fill up completely. Though for some reason, my blood is capable of filling 2 cute ghouls in a few minutes. There are more parts and more races, but not all are relevant, like animals or insects. What's important is that you understand the system. According to that creation myth, everything that exists in this world comes from a piece of that being. I take a drag from the cigarette that at some point I took from between her fingers without saying anything. I don't remember when it happened, I think I was too focused while she was talking. Well, this is a lot to process. But actually what worries me most is the sanguinum thing. Because if those are what I think they are. Kiriko. Those sanguinum vampires. Do they have a hierarchy? Yes. The highest ones are called progenitors. As you might have guessed, I'm a sanguinum. And the city beneath Kyoto. Kiriko turns her head toward me while her eyes narrow slightly. The city beneath Kyoto is the 3rd vampire capital, and it's the only capital that took the name of its race. Sanguinum. And the name of the queen of that capital is Kralteeps. Ah. Fuck. So it's Owari NL Seraph. I keep my face the same, but inside I'm making a quick mental list. If it's Owari no Seraph, that means the horsemen of the apocalypse exist, catastrophe, the Japanese Imperial Demon Army, the experiments on children, and the whole mess with Michaela and Yuichiro. And if Kralteeps is beneath Kyoto, it means Ferret Bathory probably is too, and that's a migraine. Besides, if all that exists, then the zombie apocalypse I've been worrying about for years isn't necessarily the apocalypse that will happen. Because the one from Owari no Seraph also starts with a worldwide event where all humans above a certain age die. Great. Goodbye, MILFs. No, I must stop that apocalypse at all costs. What's with that face? Kiriko is looking at me. I'm thinking of a way to save you. Ha! You brat. Save me from what? Well, she's also a vampire, so it probably won't affect her. But it will affect Mom and Miss Marikawa. Who knows if by then, Saya and the others will also grow up and the effect will reach them too. You're thinking too much. Process quickly because there's more. No, wait. I raise a hand and stop my portable wiki, who wants to keep spitting out information. Let me digest this first. She smiles a bit and leaves me alone for a while. I rest my elbows on the railing and look at the city while the cigarette smoke rises slowly. City of vampires beneath Kyoto, Kralteeps. Sanguinum, creation myth, races that come from pieces of God. All this time, I thought I had a more or less clear map of what this world is like. Tokyo Ghoul, Helsing Parasite, High School of the Dead, and with the addition of Miko, also prison school. Those were the pieces I knew. And now it turns out there's another complete piece. A city beneath Kyoto. Where monsters rest. I have to think carefully about when to get involved in that. For now, what I know is enough. Kiriko. Have you dealt with those vampires? The Sanguinum. She takes a while to respond, and has a somewhat distorted expression. Of course. And? Nothing good comes from messing with them. But also nothing we need to fix today. She takes out another cigarette, but before lighting it, she throws it over the edge. She seems annoyed, probably because she has her own history with the Sanguinum. For today that's enough, Arita. I told you I was going to tell you what you needed to know for now. This was it. The rest will come when it's your turn. I understand. What are you going to do with this? I think about it for a while, but actually, there's not much to think about in this case. Nothing. Ho. Why? For now, I mean. I'm not going to mess with them if they don't mess with me. I already have my problems with the CCG, Aogirai, and now with Iscariot. Kiriko laughs softly. At least you won't die prematurely. This woman. After a while of staying silent, Kiriko separates from the railing. I'm leaving. She walks toward the other side of the rooftop. Before leaving, she turns her head. Arita. Don't tell the girls yet. The creation myth or the city beneath Kyoto. Not Tuka, not Rise. It's information they don't need to carry since they're still very young. All right. Having said that, Kiriko's body melts into the building's shadow and disappears in a blur. Meanwhile, I stay on the rooftop a few more minutes. I take the cigarette out of my mouth and throw it away. I thought it was cool, but it tastes really bad, so I toss it. Krull teeps. Times. Today's chapter will be uploaded in a few hours. Chapter 123, Chapter 122. 1,339 words. Tuesday afternoon, classes just ended and people are leaving the building in groups. I'm walking through the courtyard with Saya on my left and Rei on my right. The two of them manage to coincide with me right at the exit, which hasn't been a coincidence for quite a while because they both know my schedule by heart, and in fact I think they silently compete to see who reaches the classroom door first. Oni-chan, let's go quick, I'm hungry. What's for dinner at home today? I don't know. Ask Mom. Mom's never home, so it's the same as asking the wall. Arita. Rei grabs my right arm, and while tilting her head slightly to look at me, she smiles at me with a sweet tone of voice. It's not the first time she's made that face, so I know it pretty well by now. Generally when she makes that face, it ends with me treating her to something or doing her a favor. Arita, how about coming to my house today? I got some movies I want to watch and well, it's boring alone, so I thought it'd be more fun with you. As she says that, her arm tightens more around mine. On my left, Saya narrows her eyes until they're two slits, and though Rei pretends not to notice, I know she noticed it perfectly because Rei's smile becomes just a tiny bit wider. Watch movies, huh? I pause because the truth is I have things to do today. I agreed with Miko to stop by her school after leaving here. It's something I already promised, and I don't really like canceling when I've already promised something, especially with someone like Miko who's probably been waiting all day. I have some things to do. Rei says that, and her smile drops a bit. Through her emotional frequency, I can sense sadness and disappointment escaping from her. She was hoping I'd say yes. It gives me a bit of a laugh, but also some tenderness, so I can't hold back anymore and laugh a little quietly. I look at her and focus on the lower layer of her aura. Rei's layer right now is dark red, the same color Tuka and Rise have. It means obsession and dependence, and it's a pretty high level. And then there's Saya's layer, which remains bright crimson, a level above dark red, and as far as I've seen only she has reached that level, and she's had it for a very, very long time. I call that layer the Yandere layer, because that's exactly what it is. What's curious about Saya is that despite having that layer, she's still capable of maintaining her reason. She's an intelligent and rational Yandere, and doesn't act on blind impulse. Having some Yanderes around me isn't something that worries me. In fact, I really love it. Well, at night I can. If we're going to watch movies, we'll watch them at night. Sound good? Really? Her eyes shine instantly and her smile fills back up, while her hand squeezes my arm even tighter. Great. I'll wait for you then, Arita. I'm going to. That voice came from my left. Rei turns her head towards Saya, with eyes wide as saucers. Huh? I said I'm going to, Bakamoto. But I didn't invite you. I invited myself. Got a problem? Saya says that with a calm face, and crosses her arms snorting a bit. Her pink bangs move with the snort. At that moment she looks like a little pink devil disguised in a school uniform. Rei narrows her eyes. Her long eyelashes tremble a bit, and her gaze becomes a bit dangerous, and that's the face she makes when she's really getting angry. Since when did you become so shameless? Always have been. Didn't you notice? I don't know where your eyes are. Saya gives a mocking smile, and Rei presses her lips. Don't look at me with that face, Bakamoto. I know exactly why you want to be alone with Oni-chan. You're going to try to do something dangerous with him, I know it. Ha! Why aren't you being irrational right now? I just want to watch movies with him, that's it. I don't understand what you're talking about. Aha! Watch movies. I know that movie, Bakamoto. It starts with lights off and ends in a bedroom. Saya. What? You just want to take advantage of him, don't deny it. It's not like that at all. The funny thing is Saya's probably right. Even if we watch a movie, Rei would surely after 5 minutes look for excuses to lean on me, and in the end would fall asleep on my shoulder, or ask for a blanket for the two of us. It's not like we'd go beyond that, of course. But this kind of scene has happened before. Saya knows it because it's also happened with her, so the accusation she's making to Rei comes from personal experience. These two always fight like this. Especially when one tries to have alone time with me. It's like in their heads they have a point system, and each minute alone with me is worth extra affection points or something like that, which, looking at it closely, probably is how it works in their heads. Doesn't matter, I'm going to. Saya ends the discussion with that phrase, and since she's on my left and Rei is on my right, both stretch their heads forward to stare at each other passing in front of my chest, and their eyes cross in the air while it seems sparks fly between them. If I could hear those sparks, they'd probably sound like small lightning bolts clashing. This is going to end badly if I don't do something, so I raise my hands and put them on their heads. I start stroking their hair slowly, and Saya stops frowning almost instantly, her expression softens, and a small satisfied smile appears on her lips. On my right, Rei tilts her head toward me and rests it on my arm, and a silly giggle escapes from her throat. He. Ha. I let out a sigh while shaking my head. After a while, I release them. Saya fixes her hair, and gives me a smug look. You already have plans with us for tonight, Oni-chan. Don't be late. Yeah. Rei separates from me with a triumphant smile. Saya ignores her and starts walking faster, with her chin up, and I stay a bit behind, adjusting the backpack on my shoulder and checking the time on my phone. I have to go see Miko. After saying goodbye to the two at the crossing, I turn around and start walking in the other direction. Tuka and Miko's school is about 20 minutes walking from here, and although I could get there in less than 20 seconds if I turned into blood mist and crossed over the buildings, there are too many people on the street at this hour, and I always prefer not to risk it. Besides, walking doesn't bother me either. I arrive at their school. About 20 minutes have passed since classes ended, so Tuka surely already went home, and most of the students have dispersed, only some remain going to clubs, or staying chatting in groups near the vending machines. I see Miko near the main entrance. She's standing next to the gate, looking from side to side. She has that face people make when they've been waiting a while, and have started to fear they've been stood up. Her fingers play with the tip of her silver hair, twist it, release it, twist it again, and each time someone passes by on the street she raises her head hopefully before lowering it again upon realizing it's not me. Seeing this, I find her somewhat adorable. I walk toward her. Times. Here's a curious question. Would you prefer the standard version of Alucard, or the girly card version? Chapter 124, Chapter 123. 1003 words. The moment she sees me, her expression changes 3 times in a row. First surprise, then her eyes open wide, and finally a shy but bright smile forms on her lips. She runs toward me with a small, messy trot. Arida-san. Hey. I thought maybe you weren't going to come. Why would you think that? I don't know. Sorry, that was weird to say. I didn't mean to say I thought you wouldn't. I mean, it's just that, She lowers her gaze and starts playing with the tip of her skirt. A pretty shy girl, this Miko. I laugh to myself. Thanks for waiting, Miko. I had to dispatch some energetic people. Energetic. My sister and a friend. Miko laughs a bit. Sounds fun, having someone energetic around. Heh, I won't deny it. Want to walk? Yes. We start walking down the sidewalk. The street is calmer now that the students have dispersed, only a few passers-by remain hurrying past, and the sun is starting to slant, so the light has an orange tone I like quite a bit. Miko walks beside me but a step behind. Isn't she sure if she can go beside me or should stay behind? Noticing her insecurity, I slow down a bit so she can get in rhythm with me. How have you been these days? Good. Well, better. Better how? The girls, the ones who bothered me before, now they avoid me. They don't talk to me, don't come near me, don't even look at me. It's much more pleasant this way. She says it smiling, and though her smile is small, it's genuine, so I feel good hearing it. And classes? Good, I guess. Do you have friends? Her smile stays still for a second. No. No? I don't have friends. She says it looking at the ground, and the tip of her shoe gently kicks a small stone that's on the path, a stone she's been kicking the last few steps. Then she adds in an even lower voice. Sounds pathetic, doesn't it? At that, I laugh. Ha ha, ha ha ha. It's a big laugh that seems like a guffaw, and Miko raises her head to look at me with surprise and confusion, and probably also some pain because she must be thinking I'm laughing at her, which would make sense given the situation. What? No, I'm not laughing at you, sorry. It's just that it's not pathetic. Not at all. But friends don't just happen. It's a matter of coinciding with the right people, and if until now the ones you've had nearby have been idiots, it's logical you wouldn't want to hang out with them. Nothing pathetic about it. She nods while her fingers keep playing with the tip of her hair. As we walk, I stay thinking for a moment. At the same time an idea appears in my head. Miko is alone at her school, her classmates have ignored her or bothered her, and though they now leave her alone, loneliness isn't cured by them stopping fucking with you, it's cured when you have someone to be with. And I don't go to her school, I can't be there every day, but I do go to another school, and there I have some girls who, although they might be seen as problematic by others, aren't bad people. Miko. Yes? Would you mind leaving this school? She raises her head and looks at me. I see her silver eyes open a bit, and her eyelashes move 2 or 3 times in a row. If you'd mind leaving it to go to mine. Yours. Omo. I don't mind coming to pick you up every day, but I don't attend this school, you know. I go to another one. I have some friends there who are pretty nice. Well, time will tell you. If you go, you won't be alone, even if I'm not in class with you at some point. But. Her eyes move from side to side as she processes what I'm saying, and I can see the moment her face changes several times, whether confusion, some doubt, and finally what seems to be hope. But. Would it be okay? I don't know if I'd fit in with your friends, Arata-san. You'll fit in, don't worry about that. How do you know? Because I'm telling you'll fit in. I smile at her, and Miko stays silent for a few seconds. Her cheeks turn a bit red, and then her expression gradually changes toward joy that rises to her face. I'd like that. Really? Yes. But. I'd have to ask my mom. Of course. I press my lips for a second unintentionally, and stay quiet as we keep walking. Arata-san. Miko is looking at me. Is something wrong? I must have made a weird face without realizing it. I smile at her. No, it's nothing. Sure. Sure. Ask your mom, and if she says yes, we'll talk to my school's administration and arrange the paperwork transfer. Shouldn't be difficult. Yes. She smiles brightly, and we walk a bit more while talking about unnecessary things until we reach an intersection where our paths separate. She has to go to her house, and I have to return to the Takagi mansion to prepare for tonight with Saya and Rei. Well, I'll walk you this far. Yes. Let me know tomorrow what your mom says, okay? I will, without fail. Take care, Miko. You too, Arata-san. She waves her hand and starts walking toward her house, and I stay for a few seconds watching her walk away before turning around and starting to walk too. While I walk, I briefly glance at the all-seeing eye in Miko's backpack. That eye has been accompanying her since she wanted to be my friend, that is, since we met, in case she encounters dangerous situations. Human life is very fragile. It can break the next second if you're not careful. Chapter 125, Chapter 124. 2031 words. Miko's house is in a quiet residential neighborhood. It's a two-story house with a small front yard where her mother had planted some flowers that are starting to wither because lately no one waters them like before. Miko opens the front door with her key and enters, leaving her shoes at the entrance and hanging her bag on the coat rack. She doesn't see it, but a small eye slides silently and flies toward the ceiling. Mom, I'm home. Welcome home, dear. Her mother's voice comes from the kitchen, so Miko walks there with a smile. Her mother is cutting vegetables on the counter, a woman in her late 30s with long brown hair pulled back in a ponytail, wearing a white apron over a light blue dress that she normally wears at home. When Miko enters, she looks up and smiles at her. How was your day today, dear? Good. Well, super good. Super good. Miko approaches and leans on the counter beside her while her fingers play with her dress. Mom, can I change schools? Her mother stops cutting the vegetables and turns her head toward her with a surprised expression. Change schools? There's another school. Someone told me I could go there, that they have nice friends and… someone. Miko instantly turned red, her entire face, even her ears. A friend. Her mother looks at her for a few seconds without saying anything, and then a kind smile forms on her face. She seems like a mother seeing her daughter doing something teenage-y, and remembering when they themselves were that age. Is it that boy? Arata, the one you mentioned before. Mom. It's not like that at all. Arata-san is just a friend. Sure. Just a friend. It's true. Miko turns redder and tries to turn her face away, but her mother leans slightly toward her and suddenly smells her arm, where Arata had brushed against her when saying goodbye. Ara, you have his scent on you. What? Her mother laughs while deliberately teasing her daughter. You're already at that phase, huh, dear? That's enough. Miko can't take it anymore, runs out of the kitchen with her face burning, goes up the stairs, and gets into her room slamming the door hard. In the kitchen, her mother stays still for a moment while looking gently toward where Miko went up the stairs. At the same time, the eye watching this scene moves. Miko's mother slightly turns her head upward hearing a strange sound. But the eye is already gone, so she returns to her vegetables. What should I make today? A meal with lots of protein. Times. That night, Miko couldn't sleep. She's lying in her bed looking at the ceiling with a small smile, because during dinner her mother had told her she could change schools. She said they'd start doing the paperwork tomorrow itself, and not to worry about anything. Miko had been so happy at that moment she could barely finish eating the vegetable soup. She also remembers that at the end of dinner, her mother had said something else. Dear, I'd like to meet your friend. Bring Aradakun home one of these days, okay? Miko had nodded without thinking. It made sense, right? It was normal for a mother to want to meet her daughter's friend, especially the boy who was about to make her change schools. Even so, her cheeks get warm thinking about introducing Arada to her mother. Ah! Miko turns over in bed and looks at the clock on the nightstand. 12:30 a.m. I'm thirsty. She sits up in her bed before getting out of bed. She walks barefoot and opens the bedroom door slowly to not make noise because her mother should already be asleep hours ago. Besides, her mother forced her to sleep early. If she didn't, she'd be scolded, so she wouldn't like to be discovered still awake. The entire house is silent. All the lights off except one. It's a light coming from downstairs, from the living room. Probably the light above the table. Mom should be asleep already. She starts going down the stairs while feeling her feet cold against the wood, and as she descends she hears a voice. A man's voice. Miko stops in the middle of the stairs and stays still. Who would be in her house at this hour? She keeps going down without making noise, and when she reaches the bottom of the stairs, instead of going out to the living room, she stays pressed against the hallway wall and peeks little by little around the corner. The living room is lit by the table lamp beside the couch, and on the large couch sits her mother, with a pink robe over her pajamas, her face calm and expressionless. In front of her, on the other couch, sits a man. That's. Miko knows him as the neighbor next door, a man in his 40s. This bald, bearded man is someone her mother often talked to on the street when they crossed paths. But what's he doing here now, at 12:30 at night? That's what Miko can't understand. She's about to go out and greet them out of politeness, but... wait, is it possible that this... a visit in the middle of the night? Mom has a secret romance with the neighbor. That's the conclusion she reaches. The man has a black plastic bag on the table, and pushes it toward the center of the table with a calm movement. Today's dinner. Miko's mother looks at the bag for a few seconds, then extends her hand and opens it. Miko leans a bit more, trying to see better from her corner. Her mother puts her hand in the bag and takes out what was inside. It's an arm. A human arm, cut at shoulder height, with pale skin and stiff fingers, and at the end where it had been cut you can see dried blood. Miko feels her body freeze at the same time her mouth opens and almost lets out a scream, but her hands rise quickly and cover it, pressing her lips to not let sound escape. Her eyes don't look away from the scene, and though she thinks about looking elsewhere, she's not capable of moving her neck. No. It has to be a dream. Yes. I'm very tired. Mom is right. I shouldn't have stayed awake so late. Her train of thought goes in that direction, assuming she's seeing scenes that aren't real, because it can't be that her beloved mother has a person's arm in her hands. Miko's eyes stay fixed on her mother's face, who looks at the arm calmly. Just one arm? Her mother says that in a complaining tone. The man on the couch clicks his tongue. It hasn't been easy to get good quality meat these days. You still dare ask for more? Tisk, fine, fine. Doesn't matter. Miko's mother leaves the arm on the table with a dry thud. Then Miko sees an unfamiliar smile on her mother's face. It's an open smile showing all her teeth. You know. I've found good prey. Ho! And who is it? The scent my daughter brought. It's from her friend. Hearing this, Miko feels her legs weaken, her knees tremble, and she has to lean against the hallway wall to not fall to the floor. That comment made her mind remember the time her mother smelled her arm that brushed against Erida. Simultaneously, her eyes get watery, she feels them burning, and tears start accumulating. Oh mom, what are you saying? Meanwhile, her mother keeps talking. He has a wonderful scent, incredible, seriously, I'm telling you, just the scent that stuck to my daughter's arm is enough to go crazy. Hideo, that blood is special. That good. That good. The man leans forward, his tongue comes out and moistens his lips, at the same time his emotionless eyes shine. And your daughter? She also looks appetizing. Our community would be grateful if you contribute a bit of meat. Miko's mother's shoulders tremble. Hee hee. Ha ha ha. A hollow, chilling laugh comes from between her lips. My daughter is my lamb, Hideo. I'm raising her so she grows well and produces good quality meat when she's ready, so you're not allowed to touch her, okay? She's just for me. Tisk. The man clicks his tongue, seems annoyed. Meanwhile, Miko, hidden behind the hallway wall, feels the entire world crumbling around her. My lamb, good quality meat, those words repeated in her head, and she wants to scream, wants to run, wants to wake up and discover this is just a very bad nightmare. But her body doesn't respond because it's frozen, only her tears work and start falling slowly down her cheeks. I have to leave. Her mother's voice sounds once more, and what she says makes Miko stop breathing. Sniff a familiar scent. Miko's mother turns her head while her nose moves a bit at the same time, she sniffs the living room air, and her eyes go straight to the hallway corner where Miko is hiding. Her pupils dilate seeing her daughter. Miko. Miko stops thinking in that instant. She jumps out from the corner and runs toward the front door. Behind her she hears a wet sound like flesh being torn from inside, and then the sharp and sinister sound coming from a broken throat. No. Don't look back. Don't look. Because if she does, she'll pass out. She reaches the front door, grabs the handle with both hands because they're trembling, yanks it open, and runs out to the street. Cold night breeze hits her face, and her tired mind wakes up. Ah. It's not a nightmare. With those sad and bewildering thoughts, she ignores the pain produced by the small stones on the sidewalk on her bare feet. She runs. Runs down the street toward wherever, not knowing where she's going. Behind her she hears footsteps coming out of her house. Miko turns her head, and what she sees makes her stomach turn. She only knows it's her mother because she's wearing the same clothes, but her face is unrecognizable because it's open, resembling an enormous flower, and from inside come long, thin, dark tentacles that join to sharp blades that move on their own in the air. Beside the woman, the neighborman is tearing off his shirt in yanks while his head opens. At the same time, both arms also split and produce tentacles with blades. Hick! Miko lets that small sound of terror escape. Because of the tears blurring her vision, everything she sees becomes a blurry stain illuminated by yellow lights coming from the street lamps. On the main street ahead, she sees blurs of cars passing. Help! She screams those words over and over until her throat burns while she runs. Bam! A neighborhood window slammed shut. Further ahead, house lights turn off and curtains close. At her cry for help, that's the response someone who wants to be saved receives. In a world of monsters, humans don't want to interfere to be heroes. She wipes her tears while continuing to run. Behind her, she hears the man speak. Don't you have some way to run faster, woman? Her mother responds with a hollow laugh. This way was more fun. Miko hears the cracking of bones being bent. When she turns her head back again, she sees the woman and men have longer, thicker legs, full of muscles, and instead of feet, there are blades to grip better. Their shape resembles animal legs. When they take a step, they seem to jump several meters while the blades on their paws embed themselves in the sidewalk. They move at a dizzying speed. In the next second, they're a few meters from her. And no. Miko tries to run more, but her body can't give more since her feet are already blurting from the sidewalk stones, her lungs are burning, and her head is completely blank. A hand grabs her by the silver hair from behind. "I've got you, dear." Her mother's voice. Chapter 126, Chapter 125. 1939 words. My heart is ripped from my chest. Blood splashes upward, and I feel how the cold air rushes in through the open hole I now have in the middle of my chest. Under the starry sky, where the cold breeze blows in the night, the pieces of old buildings around me are destroyed, full of cracks and holes, and my heart is in Mrs. Kiriko's hand, who's in front of me. She squeezes her fist and crushes it without changing expression. Blood slides down the corners of my lips, and I let out a groan because, honestly, this shit never stops hurting. Do you know what your greatest advantage is, Arita? Ha, what? As I ask that with a half-broken voice, the crushed heart in her hand dissolves into blood, floats back toward my chest, enters through the hole, and inside my ribcage a new heart forms again. The chest wound closes at the same time. Your regeneration. She says it in a flat tone. Ah, by the way. We're in the middle of training. It's nighttime, it's 9 o'clock, and this place is an old abandoned construction that in the past was my home, before Mrs. Yuriko adopted me as her son. This place is perfect for Kiriko to destroy me without anyone seeing or hearing us. We could go to 24th Ward, but there are many ghouls who'd be attracted by the smell of my blood. Before coming here, I'd been watching movies at Ray's house with Saya. They ended up fighting over position on the couch, Saya on my left, Ray on my right, and me in the middle suffering. Halfway through the second movie, Ray fell asleep leaning on my shoulder with her mouth half open, and at some point Saya also fell asleep, though she fell asleep with dignity, sitting with her arms crossed, pretending she'd only closed her eyes for a moment. After that I took Saya back to the Takagi mansion, covered her with a blanket, and came to meet Kiriko. Kiriko didn't even greet me before starting to tear off my parts. But hearing what she just told me, about my greatest advantage being my regeneration. PFFF, ha 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 ha. Kiriko raises an eyebrow and looks at me with a weird expression. What's wrong with you, brat? Have you gone crazy? No, no. I try to calm down a bit, but the laughter keeps coming out. I wipe the blood from my chin with the back of my hand, and look at her with a big smile. You know, Kiriko. A while back, I was really envious of ghouls. For exactly that reason. Because they have pretty high regeneration capacity, and at that time, I didn't have even half of that. No, worse than that, I was even envious of normal humans, because even they had better regeneration than my past self. If I cut myself with a stone I accidentally kicked, the scar would stay for days. That's why I'm laughing. I find it funny. Humph, don't get cocky. Kiriko snorts, and before I can dodge it, her hand moves and cleanly tears my head off my neck. My head flies through the air, spins a few times, and while I'm looking at the sky from a pretty uncomfortable angle, my decapitated body stays standing for a few seconds. Then the blood from my neck stretches out, grabs my head from below, and pulls it back. My head rejoins with a wet sound as the neck muscles reconnect, the spine too, and the nerves. I shake my neck and crack the bones. Ow! Your regeneration is pretty absurd. Kiriko says it looking at the blood she has on her palm, without much emotion. However, through her emotional frequency, I sense a strong desire escaping from her. She wants to stick out her tongue and lick the blood on her palm. She wants to drink my blood desperately. However, she doesn't do it and represses those feelings. I don't understand her reason for holding back. Even if I decapitate you, you regenerate almost instantly. And when I rip out your heart, you don't die or transform into a demon. Demon? When a sanguinum vampire has their heart ripped out, they transform into something called a demon. That's why the sanguinum are so careful with their hearts. They protect it more than any other organ. Ah, I remember. That happens in Seraph of the End. But nothing like that happens to you. I rip out your heart, and you don't even flinch. While saying this, she sticks her hand in my stomach without warning, her fingers piercing through my skin. They grab what they find in there and pull. My intestines come out through the hole, unroll in the air, and fall to the ground in a wet, warm pile. GHHK. I spit blood and my knees buckle, but I don't let myself fall, because I know if I fall Kiriko's going to do something worse to me for being weak. So far, if I dismember you, you're capable of regenerating in 5 seconds. Not bad. In fact, it's too good. But she swings her arm at a dizzying speed, and tears both my arms off at the shoulder. My arms fall to the ground with a dry thud beside my intestines. For some reason, losing my arms hurts more than losing my intestines. I don't know why, but it does. Well, maybe it's because the first major wound I had in this world was when in that first encounter with a ghoul he ripped off my arm. But since you don't turn into a demon or die from these things, then we have to take advantage and get the maximum potential out of that regeneration of yours. When you fight someone strong, that regeneration alone will put you in an advantageous position over the enemy. Kiriko says all this with a dangerous smile on her face while her eyes shine a bit. This woman is enjoying this. Crazy woman. Hey, master. Has anyone ever told you you're very beautiful? Ho. Her eyes narrow into slits, while her plump lips painted light pink curve upward. I don't know if I should admire your courage for saying that to me, or catalog you as a madman who's attracted to crazy women. Wow, so she admits she's a crazy woman. My arms on the ground start dissolving into blood, and from my shoulders new arms start emerging, forming from inside out. New York intestines also return to their place, rolling themselves inside me while body memory arranges them. Of course, it's not like I don't feel pain. It hurts quite a bit. Every time she cuts off my head, every time she rips out my heart, every time she pulls out my intestines, it hurts like shit. But according to Kiriko, pain in battle is a distraction, so I also have to learn to tolerate it, and better yet, to ignore it. That's why this training, besides improving my regeneration, is also to get used to pain. Which is basically training to become a bit crazier. Again. Yeah. Kiriko moves, and this time, I don't see where the attack comes from. I only feel a blow on my side accompanied by sharp pain, and when I look down, I see she's torn off my entire left side, from the hip to below the ribs. Ack. Don't scream so much, the neighbors will hear you. Kiriko, if the neighbors hear this. The problem is something else. My body regenerates. 3 seconds. After that, she tears off an entire leg. 3 seconds again. Then an eye. 1 second. Regeneration speed depends on the damage inflicted. Then half my face, until my skull and a row of bare teeth are visible. 4 seconds. She splits me in half at stomach height. My upper half falls to one side and the lower to the other, severing both arms and both legs, and 5 seconds later I'm whole again. This continues for a few more minutes. I don't know exactly how many, because at some point I stop counting them. I only know that at some point I stop screaming, stop complaining, and start reacting to pain with growls that get lower and lower, to the point where I seem like an annoyed person getting their finger pricked. That's probably what Kiriko wants. Good. You're improving a bit. Heh. Laughing, I'm about to prepare for the next attack, when I see something in my mind. It's through the all-seeing eye. At all times, I'm capable of seeing everything the eyes I've assigned to people I care about see. In my mind, in different frames that look like holographic screens, different scenes can be seen. This time I focus on one in particular. The one I assigned to Miko since we met. Through it, I see Miko discovered the truth about her mother. The reason I felt uncomfortable when Miko mentioned she'd ask her mother for permission to enroll in the same school I attend. It's because I already knew that woman wasn't human thanks to my all-seeing eye accompanying Miko. My brow furrows and my body stays still. Kiriko notices it instantly. She stops the hand that was already halfway to taking my head off again, and lowers it slowly. Her eyes get serious. What's wrong? About that. I'm going to have to leave. Huh? She looks at me, and her gaze becomes dark. Want to run away, brat? No. Someone I know is in trouble. Kiriko observes me for a couple seconds without blinking, and then lets out a low laugh through her nose. You're seeing it again, aren't you? Through those disgusting eyes of yours. Yes. I nod and start bending my fingers one by one to make sure everything's in place before moving. The blood layer on my skin starts levitating before falling to the ground, leaving my skin clean. Who? A girl. Miko. I met her a few days ago. Another one. Not in that sense. Heh. Really? Poor Rei, I feel sorry for her. Kiriko crosses her arms and looks at me up and down. And you're going like that? Without finishing training? Yes. You think I'll give you permission? At least give me a valid reason. If not, don't even think about going. My eyes become sharp in her direction. What's the point of having power, Kiriko, if you can't protect the people you care about? If I can't save her now, then none of this training is useful to me, not the weird regeneration I have, not the Kaguns, not the eyes I've assigned in case this type of outcome occurs. If all of this is in me but I can't use it when needed, then what's the point? Kiriko keeps looking at me for a few seconds while the night breeze moves a strand of her hair over her face, but she doesn't bother to brush it away. And then she smiles. She can smile normally, huh? It's not a frequent smile, and that makes it more beautiful. Good answer, Arata. I'm satisfied. Then go. And whoever stands between you and your precious person. Her smile widens and shows her fangs. Destroy them. My body dissolves into blood mist. The mass rises for a second in the air among the rubble, and then shoots toward the night sky at full speed, leaving a faint trail behind me. As I cut through the air toward Miko's house, who's been discovered by her mother. Chapter 127, Chapter 126. 2012 words. Well, this fanfic has been removed from Scribble Hub. Times. Miko's body goes flying against a house wall. Her head hits the concrete first, and a sharp pain crosses her entire forehead, while she feels something warm running down her face until it gets in her right eye. It's her blood spilling heavily. Her body falls to the ground with arms spread and legs twisted, with dirty bare feet full of small wounds. In front of her is her mother. Her mother, who's no longer her mother. The head opened like an enormous flower, tentacles coming out from the top moving slowly, and the face below, deformed by a huge smile that reaches almost to her ears. It's a shame, you know, dear. A distorted voice comes from the elongated mouth. It's a shame my little lamb discovered so soon that she's a lamb destined to be devoured. It would have been cleaner if you'd never found out. Mom. Miko sobs while that word comes out without thinking, maybe because it's the only thing her head knows how to do at that moment. The woman tilts her head to one side while monstrous sounds come from her throat. That doesn't change the fact, Miko. You're a lamb. You'll just be food before maturing like I'd planned. And look how well I fed you, and took care of you, and brushed your hair every day. It's a shame to waste so much work. She starts approaching. Miko tries to back away using her hand, but her back hits the wall, and there's nowhere else to go. On her right is the neighbor monster standing calmly. In front of her, her mother. The left side is the only exit, so Miko pushes with her legs and tries to get up toward that side. A tentacle crosses the air with a shining blade at the tip, passes in front of her face almost grazing her nose, and drives into the concrete floor. A fingers wither from her hand. Miko screams a small sound and falls sitting against the wall again. Ah. Not that way, dear. The woman comes closer, staying only a meter from her. Phew. I've been a good mother all these 2 years. I let you watch your shows, bought you your things, took you to the doctor when you got sick. And you, dear, have also been a good daughter, since you're obedient and quiet without causing problems for Mom. That's why I'm going to put mother-daughter feelings above everything, and I'm going to respect you one last time. I'll give you a quick death. After that pause, she continues. Goodbye, Miko. The woman raises her leg and brings it down toward Miko's head. Her foot hits her temple and Miko's head impacts the concrete again. Her vision goes black for a second, then white, then blurry, and blood starts coming out faster from the wound on her forehead. Despite the woman saying it would be a quick death, it seems in the end those were just empty words. The starry sky becomes blurry to Miko. She can barely keep her eyes open anymore. She sees the lights from the street lamps as well as the house lights, and they give her the impression they're moving on their own. A blade at the tip of a tentacle rises above the woman and descends toward Miko's neck. At that moment, the blood that was stuck to Miko's forehead moves. It separates from her skin, slides through the air in a thin red line, and before the tentacle's blade reaches her neck, it passes in front and cuts the tentacle in half. The cut part falls to the ground, writhing a couple times before staying still, losing color and drying out. Ha! The woman blinks a couple times in a confused manner. At the same time, her remaining tentacles move with doubt. While she's confused, the blood line floats in the air, makes a calm turn, and passes by her arm, cutting the skin of her forearm superficially. Her arm starts bleeding, and that new blood also separates from the wound and floats up before cutting her again. What? The woman takes a step back, looking at her arm without understanding, while the neighbor parasite beside her goes on guard. Miko, who's slowly losing consciousness, raises her eyes toward the sky. From the dark night sky falls the silhouette of a boy. She doesn't see his face because he has his back to her. The blood floating in the air moves around him. As Miko's vision becomes darker and darker, her lips move. Arada-san. She raises her trembling arm toward that silhouette she knows, and passes out. Times. TSK. I arrived a bit late. I see Miko on the ground against the wall, with her forehead split open and blood running down her entire face, and I see how her eyes close and her body goes completely limp. Her breathing is agitated. She needs attention soon. The first thing I do is manipulate her blood. All of it coming out of the wound on her forehead, and what's already stuck on her face. I order the blood to stay still where it is, and little by little the bleeding stops. Of course, it's not a complete solution, but for now it buys her time. While I do that, the woman's voice reaches me from behind. Who are you? Where did you come from? The neighborman speaks too. Wait, that scent. The woman takes a little step forward while her tentacles writhe. That scent. I already know it. It's the scent my daughter had stuck to her arm. You're her friend. Right? Arada, isn't it? Heh. About that. I finish stabilizing Miko, and only then do I turn my head over my shoulder toward them. As I do, heavy scent of blood escapes from my body, like a thick presence writhing around me. Don't call her that. They blink. Huh? Don't say she's your daughter, or you her mother. Don't say it again. The woman stays quiet while her distorted eyes move. And then she lets out a long, hollow laugh that makes the nearby window glass crack. Ha 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 ha. And who do you think you are to tell me that, boy? I gave birth to her. I raised her. I'm her mother. Pronouncing those words, she shakes her head full of tentacles. The blades at the tips sharpen, and a bunch of tentacles shoot toward me from various angles. Shink. I raise my left hand and the fingers become long blades. I move my arm in a short arc, and the tentacles cut cleanly upon colliding with my fingers. Chunks of flesh fall to the ground and writhe a bit before staying still. The woman and men stay quiet seeing that. Ho! He's like us. No. Look at his eyes. While they talk to each other, the woman takes another step back. The laughter erases from her face. But then, as if wanting to regain control, she raises her chin and says with a twisted smile. Doesn't matter. You won't be able to do anything anyway, boy. Besides, I'm warning you, if you also intend to eat my daughter, then. I appear in front of her without even bothering to run. A hand's width from her head full of tentacles. Her eye below where the tentacles join, blinks with surprise, and I sense fear in her frequencies. My right fist rises. I told you to stop calling her that. I tense my arm muscle and push with all my body weight forward. My fist impacts her head, and the head reduces to nothing in an instant, the tentacles disintegrate, the face dissolves, and the force that keeps pushing goes through everything and continues, pierces the air behind her, and hits the house wall they have behind them. The wall explodes inward, the concrete cracks and opens in an enormous hole, and behind that the force keeps going through, part of the interior wall breaks too, and leaves a long trail of destruction. How? The woman's body falls backward. All that's left of her head is the lower jaw part, the lips, the tongue, and her mouth moves to pronounce those words before the flesh withers quickly, turns gray, and dies. One down. Before I can turn around, the neighborman moves. It surprises me a bit, because he moves fast. Seems the parasite has spread through a large part of his body. His legs compress and launch him toward me in a straight line, and from his head come tentacles with blades, and from the sides of his arms blades also come out, everything coming toward me from 3 angles at the same time. Oh! I see it all clearly. I dodge the first by tilting my neck, duck under the second, and the third I answer with my blade fingers, cutting it in half. While I do all that, my other hand is already under the man's chin. See you never. I push upward. My blade fingers pierce through his jaw, go up through his mouth, pierce the palate, and keep going up. I feel the gelatinous structure writhing around my fingers, trying to detach from the head and flee, but I cut it to pieces from inside. The man's body collapses. Once I've finished with the 2 parasites, I manipulate the blood from their bodies. The woman's blood and the man's blood separate from the flesh, float out through the air, and come toward me. The amount is quite a bit, so I open my mouth and absorb it. While I swallow it, I receive some fragmented memories from them. That's problematic. In this area there's a community of parasites living hidden, and they share food among themselves to not attract the attention of the Special Parasite Division. They mainly hunt children who return late from school, or those people who leave work very late at night. I'm going to have to deal with that, but not now. Chomp. Chomp. Hundreds of small mouths appear on the 2 corpses and devour them. I walk toward where Miko is. She's still lying against the wall, her breathing still agitated, and now it's a bit slower, which I don't like. I crouch down and lift her in my arms. Hang in there a bit, Miko. Her head settles against my shoulder, at the same time I push with my legs and start running. I don't transform into mist because to carry her I need to be in body, so I run at a speed much faster than a car. While I run, I think about where to take her. A normal hospital is ruled out, because her parents' presence would be needed, police will come, and everything will get complicated. And her mother just died tonight, so I don't want that part to come out now either. But I know someone. Miss Marikawa. She studies nursing, and though she's not an official nurse yet, she already has enough knowledge to treat serious wounds. She's not going to ask me weird questions if I show up at her door at this hour with an unconscious girl in my arms. Well, she'll probably ask me some question, but ones I can handle. Through the all-seeing eye assigned to her, I see she's sitting in front of her desk, studying with a sleepy expression. I change direction mid-air, jump onto a roof, take 2 steps along the ridge, and let myself fall to the other side. I keep running. Miss Marikawa's house is about 20 minutes walking from here, but at my speed I cover it in less than 1. When I arrive, I stop short in front of the entrance. It's a huge house that looks like a small mansion, 4 stories. The 4th floor light is on. I look at Miko in my arms. Her face is pale, but she's still breathing. We're here, Miko. I ring the doorbell to call her. Chapter 128, Chapter 127. 2099 words. While I wait, I use a bit of my vampire vision to see what's happening on the other side. Through the wall, I can see Miss Marikawa on the couch. She's lying down with a medical textbook open on her stomach, wearing yellow pajamas covered in little chick prints. Little chicks. This woman is 22 years old. When the doorbell rings, she lifts her head with a dazed look, glances at the screen connected to the doorbell camera, and her eyes blink twice before flying wide open. Ha! Arada-chan. She drops the book to the side and jumps up from the couch. She starts trotting down the stairs. On one of the steps she misses her footing, lets out a "Yowa," and grabs the railing just in time. This woman seriously never changes. Well, as long as she doesn't break her neck. She reaches the door. I hear the click of the lock, and the door swings open. Arada-chan, what a serp. Her voice cuts off mid-word. Her amber eyes travel from my face down to my arms, and lock onto Miko. The dried blood, the bare feet covered in cuts, and the pale face. Kaya. What happened? Good evening, Miss Marikawa. Sorry for the late hour. That doesn't matter right now. Come on, get inside, quick. She steps aside and practically shoves me in with her arms, then closes the door behind us. She leads me up the stairs to her room. We reach the 4th floor. She opens the door and ushers me inside. Lay her on the couch, quick. Wait, no, better on my bed. Yes, my bed, follow me. Her bed is a single and neatly made, white sheets with a folded blanket at the foot. There's a big stuffed bear sitting on the pillow. Move the bear, please. Got it. I set the bear aside and lay Miko down on the bed carefully. Her head rests on the pillow, and her silver hair, stained with blood, fans out across the white fabric. Her forehead still bears a dark red mark, and though my blood manipulation is sealing the wound, it's clear she needs real treatment. Miss Marikawa is already running to the back room, where she keeps her study supplies. She's back almost immediately, carrying a large first aid kit, and sets it on the nightstand. She opens it and pulls out gloves, a small penlight, gauze, alcohol, saline solution, and bandages. How long has she been like this? Around 7 or 8 minutes. Shizuka sits on the edge of the bed and leans over Miko. She gently opens one eye, checks the pupil, and shines the penlight on it. She does the same with the other. Then she presses 2 fingers to her neck and goes still for a couple of seconds counting. Pulse is a little fast but stable, pupils are reactive, no asymmetry. That's good. I see. I don't understand any of that. She pulls on the gloves and begins cleaning the area around the wound with the saline solution. How strange, it looks like the bleeding stopped before she could lose too much. She furrows her brow as she works. At the same time, she speaks without looking up. So what happened? For her to end up like this? She was attacked. Attacked by who? Parasites. Shizuka's hands go still over Miko's forehead as her eyes lift to meet mine. Parasites. The ones with the heads that open up and... She makes a strange gesture with her hands over her own head. It's honestly kind of cute on her, even if parasites themselves are ugly. Omo. Those ones. She looks back down at the wound and keeps cleaning. I thought those things were rare to run into. Heh. There are plenty of them. The news just says they're scarce. And this girl, did they bite her? Scratch her? Any saliva in a wound? Because those aren't contagious like zombies, right? Or are they? I always mix up the details. No, parasites aren't contagious like that. She's fine on that front. The wound is just from the blows. Though from what I've observed, a parasite that has just taken a host can sometimes transfer to a new one. But there aren't many of that type left anymore, because most of them have evolved due to RC cells and fully integrated with their host's body. Good, good. Thank God. Miss Marikowa finishes cleaning and starts applying antiseptic. Miko furrows her brow slightly in her sleep, as if it stings, but doesn't wake. Then Shizuka takes out a fine needle and thread. I'm going to put in a few stitches. Not many, I don't think she'll scar much if she takes care of it. Once she finishes, she clips the thread with small scissors and places a clean piece of gauze over the wound. Then she checks the rest of her body. She has a lot of small cuts on her feet. She was running barefoot, wasn't she? Yes. All right. I'll clean those up too. I don't want them getting infected. While she tends to the feet, she briefly looks up at me. She has a slight fever from the shock, but nothing more serious. Her blood pressure is stabilizing too. I think she'll wake up within a few hours. That's good, isn't it? But there's a significant blow to the head. If I were being cautious, I'd take her to the hospital, do a scan, rule out internal bleeding, all of that. She looks fine on the outside, but you can never tell what's happening inside. I focus on the blood flowing through Miko's body, and note that it's very stable. Is it necessary? Necessary, necessary. If no unusual symptoms show up in the next few hours, then no. But I'm not a doctor yet, Arata-chan. If something happens and I don't catch it in time. If it comes to that, we'll take her. Huh? She looks up at me in surprise. You don't mind? I thought you didn't like hospitals. I scratch my head. Have I given her that impression? Though it's true that in the past, every time she tried to take me to one, I'd refuse, and probably made a face about it too. No. What matters more to me is that she's okay. I just didn't want to take Miko to the hospital on my own, without an adult around. If she goes with Miss Marikowa, it's fine. I'll just need to nudge a few people's minds so they don't start asking whether I was the one who found her, and all the questions that would follow, because that's a headache. All right. Shizuka presses her lips together for a moment, then picks up the stethoscope and moves it across Miko's chest. She closes her eyes as she listens. Then she listens at the neck, takes her pulse again, and lifts her eyelid with the penlight. She's going to be all right, you know. I think she didn't lose much blood because of that strange effect on it. I'll stay up tonight to keep watch. If anything strange comes up, we take her to the hospital. Does that work for you? I smile. It's a pretty wide smile, so she's a little surprised to see it. Then we're good. Honestly, I trust you more than I trust any other doctor. Her cheeks go red. She looks away for a second. Fufu, don't say things like that, Arata-chan. A girl might start to believe them. She leans forward slightly, and as she does, her boobs beneath the loose pajamas sways in a way that briefly pulls my attention. I get caught on those hypnotic movements for just a moment, only snapping back when she runs a hand through my hair and ruffles it. Ah. I didn't say it to make you believe anything. Miss Marikowa, you should have more confidence in yourself. I think you have incredible talent as a doctor. Sure. Whatever you say, Arata-chan. She keeps petting my head for a few more seconds, and I let her, because Shizuka's hand is warm and soft and I really don't mind at all. After a while, she withdraws her hand and looks at Miko again. By the way, Arata-chan. Who is this girl? Her name is Miko. She's my friend. I wonder just how many girlfriends you have at this point. I don't know. She lets out a long hoo sigh and shakes her head, probably worried about my future. Well, if she ever found out that some of those friends have tried to kill me, I wonder how she'd react, this beautiful, clumsy Wani-san of mine. Even so, poor thing. Look at what happened to her today. She pulls another blanket from a drawer below and drapes it over Miko up to her chin. She gently runs her hand through the silver hair as she watches her. Then she turns to me with a more serious expression, as if remembering something important. Oh, right. Her parents. Do you have a number for them? We need to let them know, they must be worried sick if she hasn't come home. Or if you want, give me the address and I'll go find them myself, I don't mind. You stay here with her while. That won't be necessary. Huh? There's no need to call them or look for them. She blinks, tilting her head to the side. But, Arata-chan, her parents. Her mother was the parasite. Miss Shizuka's mouth falls slightly open as her eyes go wide again. Huh? Did I hear that right? Her mother. The woman she's lived with for years. That same woman is the parasite. And tonight, Miko found out and was attacked by them. Were there more? Her father. The other one was a neighbor. He'd bring her mother food in bags. She brings her hands to her mouth without saying a word for several long seconds. My God. She looks down at Miko. At the same time, her hand moves to gently brush the silver bangs away from the wound. Poor thing. Poor thing. Her voice saying those words is very quiet. And her father. Anyone else in the family? As far as I know, there's no father. She only lived with her mother. She didn't mention any aunts, uncles, or grandparents. Shizuka lets out a long, slow sigh and looks up at me. All right. Then she stays here. Just tonight? Tonight, tomorrow, however many days it takes. She stays here, and I'll take care of her. You do what you need to do, but she stays here with me until she's well, and until we talk to her and figure out what comes next. This woman. I smile. Honestly, I expected nothing less from Shizuka, but even so her speed surprises me a little. She didn't stop to think for even 2 seconds. And it takes a real weight off my shoulders. Taking her to the Takagi mansion was out of the question. Saya would throw a fit. Tuka's place was out too, because Tuka is a ghoul, and it would get complicated. I'm not even counting Rise, who would probably put a knife in her back just for being someone close to me. Thank you, Miss Marikawa. Truly. Don't thank me, don't be silly. And stop calling me Miss Marikawa. I've told you like 100 times to call me Wani-san. Shizuka, then. My face twitches a little as I try to remember whether Wani-san is what I would have called her originally. Mao Arata-chan, you're so mean to your Wani-san. But fine, Shizuka is better I suppose. She smiles a little, then stands, peels off her gloves and drops them into a small separate bag. I'm going to put the kettle on for tea. Want some? You look tired. And your clothes are in tatters, do you want a change of clothes too? Yes, please. That's Mrs. Kiriko's fault. She had absolutely no qualms about tearing me apart. Looks like you managed to get away without getting hurt, huh? That's a relief. All right, come to the kitchen then. We'll let her rest, I'll come check on her every 20 minutes. I nod and follow her out of the room. Before I leave, I glance back at Miko asleep beneath the blanket, forehead bandaged, silver hair spread against the white pillow, beside the big stuffed bear that Shizuka must have quietly put back at her side at some point. Don't forget to like and subscribe to Novels Wonderland.